It's Chippy from umcportal.com. We're here in a live session. There's another camera on the left here. Thanks for joining the live session if you're watching that, and thanks for joining on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy this. This video is going to give you an overview of two 10-inch Windows 8.1 devices, 2-in-1s actually, and three 8-inch Windows 8.1 devices. The devices are, I'll just go through them, the Asus Transformerbook T100. We've got the Lenovo Mix 2 10, both of those, well actually the T100 was out, it's been out a couple of months. The Mix 2 10 has only just become available. Then we've got the Asus VivoTab Note 8. Now that's an interesting one, it's just become available in the US. It's the one with the Wacom digitizer layer. Then we've got the Dell Venue 8 Pro. That's that one there. That's been out for a few months. That is an Android tablet I'm going to use to compare with. And that is the Toshiba Encore WT8, which has, I'm not sure what the availability of that is in the US, but in Europe that's been available for, I think a month, actually middle of December I think that was available. So before I start to go over those devices, I just want to quickly talk about 8-inch versus 10-inch and the sort of scenarios you might want to think about before you decide between the 8-inch and 10-inch, because there's one thing that's happening in the 10-inch space, 10-inch tablet PC space that is, or Windows tablet space, whatever you want to call that, and that is that the tablet portions of these 2-in-1 devices are getting quite light. So if we take, for example, the Mix 2 10, it's weighing just 600 grams, it's like 1.4 pounds, I don't know what that is in imperial. But that means we're getting into a situation where the 10-inch tablets are actually becoming quite consumer friendly, consumption friendly. You can actually use these tablets now for a fairly long period of time in a casual sort of one-handed mode. And as they get thinner and lighter, it becomes more interesting. And the reason it becomes more interesting because they're bigger. The screens are a little bit more, have a little bit more magic. Obviously the original iPad, that was what the magic was all about, the bigger screen and the reaction of the touch screen. Well, they've got that sorted out in Windows 8, that's no problem. And as they get lighter and thinner, we get a really nice magazine-like experience. And of course the big advantage is bigger screen means you can use desktop a lot easier than you can on the 8-inch devices. So the 8-inch devices are giving you exactly the same software. It's Windows 8.1, you've got the desktop, you've got the modern user interface. But the problem is that using the desktop on these 1280 by 800 screens is really quite difficult with the finger. There's no denying that. There's a lot of difficulties in using it. You can use these devices as ultra-mobile desktops. These devices have exactly the same processing power as these devices, and these devices work pretty well as desktops. Put them up to connect them via either USB over DisplayLink, Miracast, or HDMI as on one or two of these devices, and you get quite an interesting desktop experience. So this is really consumption first, desktop when docked. Whereas these can be used consumption plus a little bit of desktop in 50-50, and I think as time goes on this form factor might become more interesting. I think that Windows will have a problem in the 8-inch space, and the reason is because if you're going to do consumption only or consumption first, 150 euros buys you a an Android tablet of reasonable quality and processing power with a whole bunch more apps than you're going to get on the Windows experience, and it's much lighter. And in the case of this one, which was cheaper than any of those Windows 8 tablets, it's actually got a SIM card slot as well, so it's got 3G capability as well. So I think if you're thinking of consumption only, the sort of Android experience is probably better for most people. If you're an ultra-mobile desktop user, if you're an ultra-mobile computer user, and you want this ultra-mobile experience, this is an ultra-mobile PC, this is a UMPC. You will probably want to add something like, you know, a Bluetooth keyboard to that, and you've got yourself a nice little setup there. Right, so that's my opinion on the 8 versus 10. You might have other opinions, I'd be happy to hear those. If you're watching live on that camera, put your comments in. If you're watching on YouTube, put your comments in, and we'll have a look at the stream of that and have a good discussion over that. Now let's dive into the two 10-inch devices. I want to make this video under 15 minutes long. I don't want to drag it out just for, well, we'll have the live session after this to talk in detail about the devices. So this YouTube video is just a comparison. Right, Mix 210 versus Transformer Book T100. Both running the same processor, both got 2 gigs of RAM, both got 64 gigs of storage, both have 10-inch screens, both weigh much the same, and both are 2-in-1s in that the tablet portion is removable. The major difference is in the design of the actual screen mechanisms here. Now the T100 has a fixed screen mechanism that needs a button to be pressed to pull it out. It's a little bit more awkward than the Mix 10, but it gives you quite a bit of security when you're carrying the device as a PC. Now the Mix 210 is held together via magnet and just kind of slots into what you call a keyboard dock, really. There's no battery in here. There's a couple of USB ports, but that's about it. Oh, and this subwoofer, which is not a subwoofer, but it's a little bit of extra volume and a little bit of extra dynamic range for your audio. So this one is really tablet first plus a magnetic keyboard. That's how I put it. You haven't got an adjustable screen. You can't adjust the angle, but you have got quite a nice IPS screen there. On this one, you've got the ability to, on the T100 that is, the ability to adjust the angle. So this is really sort of netbook first, tablet too. So 50-50 netbook tablet, this one. This one's 70% tablet and 30% mobile computer. I'm not going to call it a netbook. The keyboards are slightly different. What Lenovo have done on this keyboard is they've taken out the function key row, squashed up some of the numerics, put the functions underneath a function key, and they've made the alpha keys full size. So you've got full size alpha keys on there. When you get to the numerics though, they're slightly in a different position. Can I compare the two on camera? I hope I can, because you'll see immediately the differences in sizing. I'm going to have to carefully do that. Can you see that? So you've got more rows on the T100, less rows on the Mix 210, but you've got full-size keys for the Alpha and small keys for the T100. Now look at the numerics. I don't know if you can see that on this video. Switch to 720p if you can. You'll see that the numerics are slightly offset. Now that'll catch you out, because you'll go for the 3 key to the left, top left of the E key, as it normally is, and it's actually to the top right of the E key. It will catch you out. It's caught me out a number of times, and I think that could be a problem because a lot of people, or everyone, is not going to have this as their main PC. And there might be a few. It's possible actually to use this as your main PC. You can hook it up to a screen. But the if you're switching between keyboards, that will catch you out. I think if you do a lot of work on here, maybe you'll get used to it fairly quickly, but bear that in mind. Right, screen again. Screen on the T100 is not as good as the screen on the Lenovo. I can't show you this on the video because the auto brightness will just screw it up. But the IPS is brighter, there's better viewing angles, plus we've got full HD screen here. We've got 1920 by 1200. We've got a 16:10 ratio screen, sorry, 16:10, yeah, and not a 16:9 as on the 1366 by 768 screen of the T100. So the screen on this is better. Colors, brightness is good, slightly better than the T100. Colors are okay. I don't see that this is, you know, your sort of photo quality screen, but actually quite enjoyable. So I think maybe as a preview device for photographers, that could be quite interesting. And certainly for those with 20/20 vision, you might get more out of the screen. You might even be able to use it as a desktop. I have a problem with that. I wear glasses in low light situations, and I have problems with small fonts anyway. But anyway, ports, right. We've got pretty much the same ports on this. I'm just going to have to double check because it's been a while since I've actually done the comparison. But what we've got on this one is the possibility of 3G. It's not actually on this one, but there is a 3G version coming. Apart from that, everything is the same. Single microphone, volume rocker power, HDMI, USB 2, That's the only difference. The other one has, this one has a separate power port. Slightly faster charging, a 4-hour charge on this. I think the T100 takes a little bit longer than 4 hours to charge. You can also charge this over a USB if you want to. So in terms of performance, pretty much the same. Disk speeds, the Lenovo is slightly ahead, and I will point out that the T100 has some 4K write speeds which are fairly low. I know one or two people that have actually said that it's quite noticeable. 4K write speeds are very important. The small blocks that get written, you don't stream a whole load of data to a hard disk. Generally, it's small blocks that get put over different places. So this 4K write speed is very important. The T100 has, I think, about 4x, 8x, something of that order. I think it's about 4 megabytes per second on the T100 compared to 20 megabytes per second or more on the Mix 210. So that might be something to note. Cameras, the Mix camera is pretty poor, boring. So is the camera on the T100, but this doesn't have a rear camera. It only has the front web camera. This has a 5 megapixel rear camera. I don't think that brings any value, to be honest. Battery life. The T100 has better battery life. It's got, I think, a 30 watt-hour battery. There's only a 25 watt-hour battery on there. I think 24.5 on the Lenovo. So if you're looking for the ultimate battery life, T100 is better. Right there. So that's the two 10-inch devices. There is one more from Fujitsu, the Q583. That is an expensive, waterproof professional device with all sorts of craziness on it. I don't think we really should be comparing that one with these devices here. Let me go, where did that noise come from? Let's switch this off. I know it's going to go to 2G, excuse me. Let's just power that off. Right, let's do the tablets. 3 Windows 8.1 tablets here, all weighing pretty much the same, all having pretty much the same screen size, all having the same internals. They're all on Bay Trail. That's not one, that's 3 together. As you can see, they're all the same size. Now then, let's start with the Vivo Tab 8. I've been using this now for 3 or 4 days. I think it's one of the best Windows 8 tablets, 8-inch tablets out there. And the reason is, earlier I mentioned that desktop with a finger is actually pretty awkward. Now, here's the key feature here. You've got a stylus. Now, this isn't just a basic stylus. This is a Wacom stylus with a really nice distance sensor. It's 18 millimeters or 17 millimeters. It senses the device, so you get no palm getting in the way. So it's got good palm rejection. That's what I meant to say. And it's there. It's usable. So you can use it for, let's think of the situation. So it's pressure sensitive, so creative work. So even with Fresh Paint on Windows 8.1, it supports pressure sensitivity, so you can get some fun things going there. It works with handwriting recognition on the Windows 8 input panel, so you can use, and I tell you that the handwriting recognition is stunning on Windows 8. It's quite incredible. I am a left-handed writer. The only writing I do is writing Christmas cards, and very messy Christmas cards at that. It recognised everything I put on it yesterday. I even did something with my right hand, and I never write with my right hand. It recognised that. I couldn't even recognise it. You've got hover capability, so when you're in a browser, important on a tablet, your finger doesn't trigger any hover action. So that's the menus that are over, often menu tabs on a web page. You hover over with your mouse and you reveal a menu. Well, that is very difficult to implement on a finger touch browser. So, but you've got the hover feature here, so that will trigger the menu, and then you get the menu coming down, and then you can tap on the screen to get the menu. There was a couple of other scenarios. Pressure sensitivity, we talked about. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, and then using on the desktop, you've got a fine, less than 1 millimeter square point on this, so you can actually see what you're hitting very, very easily on the desktop. So it makes the desktop more usable. Now, it is a plastic device, plastic finish, slightly rubberized. Speakers are stereo and positioned on both sides at the back, so you get a little bit of separation when you're watching a game in landscape, or a video in landscape mode, or playing a game. Speakers aren't that brilliant though. You've got a micro SD card slot on here. This is the 32 gig version, and what Asus have done, which is really nice on this, is they've put the recovery partition on the SD card slot, so that you save 4 gigs of space on the 32 gig SSD internally. On the 64 gig one, they don't do that. They leave the recovery partition on the eMMC. Now, of course, you could lose that recovery micro SD, so the best thing to do is take a copy of it and store that somewhere, or create another recovery USB stick on an 8 gig drive, 8 gig USB stick. That's easy to do under Windows 8. The screen, not as punchy and bright as the Dell, for example. You can certainly see the edges on it, and the plastic is a little bit plasticky. And I don't think, there's a couple of ridges on here as well. And when you're holding it for a long time, it might get a little bit awkward. It doesn't feel that nice. It may be bearable, but it's not that nice. Certainly when you compare it to the Dell. We'll talk about that in a minute. GNSS sensor on here, so GPS sensor built in on this one. There isn't one on the Dell, and you don't get HDMI output on this one. Miracast works, and you can do USB 2 display port. Charges over USB 2, and that is about it. Oh, the camera's pretty good. Whether you're going to use that or not, I don't know. Moving on to the Dell Venue 8 Pro. Now, this is the best looking and the best feeling of the 3 Windows 8.1 8-inch tablets I have here. It's got a lovely rubberized back with concentric circles. It feels really solid in the hand. It's got a beautiful black, all black screen. You can barely see the frame on that one, and the color and brightness of the screen is really good. It's the lightest of the devices, and it also has a digitizer layer. The problem is it's be careful what I say here. The problem is that it uses it's a Synaptics touch digitizer layer, and it doesn't look like Synaptics are really up to speed on the quality of the digitizer and the pen that came with it. So much so that Dell have dropped selling the pen now, and have talked about reintroducing that in February, or we're in February now, late February, March, I think, about now. Right now, as I review this isn't a digitizer device. I don't have a pen. It wasn't shipped with a pen. And the other thing is, when you have a pen, there's nowhere to stow it. So you've got to keep that pen somewhere with you. I don't even know. I don't even think there's a lanyard port. No, there's not even a lanyard place to put a lanyard on this. So think about that. If you want a digitizer enabled devices, I always recommend that it has the stowage for that on board. It makes it 100 times more usable. You'll start to reach for it if it's there. If it's not there, you'll forget it, you'll lose it. It won't be with you all the time. Now, the Dell has pretty much the same ports. It has a mono speaker, which is, pretty poor. But I think as a consumption device, this is probably the one that I choose. The Dell Venue 8 Pro is a really nice to hold device, and nice screen, great battery life. This performance is okay. Just the digitizer that's a problem. So if you're buying this for the digitizer, don't get the VivoTab 8. I haven't found any problems with the VivoTab 8. Now we've got Mr. Chubby here. The Toshiba WT8, Encore WT8. Now it is chubby. It's chubby for a reason. It's got a bigger battery inside. It's got a 20 watt-hour battery inside this device. I think there's a 15 or 17 in these, and a 20 watt-hour battery in this one. And when you get to 8-inch screen sizes, that becomes quite a significant amount of battery extra. So battery life on this one's pretty good. You've got stereo speakers at the bottom, so it's not, you don't get the separation when you're watching videos, but the speakers are quite good. You've got beamforming mics on this, so dual array mics, and on the top you've got HDMI. You've got an 8 megapixel autofocus camera and good performance. The only thing is that it's, I think the back feels a little bit plasticky and cheap, and it's a little bit chubby and heavier than the others. So this is the one if you want the ultimate battery life and you need the extra connectivity, the HDMI. Say you're using it for Skype as well. Those array mics are going to help, and that those speakers down there are pretty good. This is a 64 gig version. Micro SD card slot is there as well. I'm just checking I've got everything right. Yeah, I do have a problem with this one. This one has part of the touchscreen is malfunctioning. Just this row here, So you try and drag stuff up and everything drops off as soon as you get to this point. Above it works. So there's a couple of problems with the touchscreen on this one. I'll have to send it back, but that's that. Right, did we get through it? That is... Okay, let's just do one more thing. And that is mentioning the Windows 7 tablet, Android tablets against the Windows 8 Windows 8 tablets. Right, can you have a look at that and tell me what you think is the more hand-holdable and the more pocketable device? You've got a 1-inch less screen, but this is lighter, thinner, much more hand-holdable. This is actually from 2012 to the early 2013. So things have got even better since this came out. It's cheaper as well. So think about that. If it's consumption only, so for example, Amazon Kindle, YouTube videos, social networks, and even website browsing, I think you're better off getting an Android 7-inch tablet, to be honest. If you want to step it up and go a little bit high dynamic range computing, ultra mobile computing, then the 8-inch tablets. And if you want the possibility to have a device for a weekend, the only device that you need, one of these 2-in-1s is great. Make your decision based on what you need it for. This one is really tablet first. This one is more netbooky style, with 50/50 netbook tablet. Right, I think that's it. We will have a lot more videos on these devices over the next week, and I'm currently reviewing the Asus Vivo Tab Note 8. The review hopefully will be up on UMC Portal within the next 48 hours. And that's it for the time being. So if you've got questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to like the video. Please subscribe. We'll get you, you can set up notifications by email if you subscribe, so you'll get notification whenever the new videos come in. I'm focused 100% on ultra mobile computing, and that is everything from leading edge ultrabooks, low weight ultrabooks of course. I usually do the cutoff at about 1.3, 1.4 kilograms, all the way down to the 8-inch Windows 8 tablets. And it's becoming an interesting area now with modern and with the new products coming out. These are not the only products in the market. There's probably another 5 or 6 that match up in these categories on top of that. Right, that's it. My name's Chippy. Thanks for watching. I'm on Twitter at Chippy. UMPCportal.com is the website. You can also find me at ultrabooknews.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.